You never really think about the weight of a glance, until someone looks where they were never supposed to. It started as a normal evening. My phone was charging by the bed like always. I had just come back from school, changed into something loose, and sat down to unwind. I unlocked my phone to check messages, and that's when I noticed it. The gallery app was still open in the background. Not just open, scrolled deep into a hidden folder. One I hadn't touched in weeks. My heart tightened. I tapped into it. There they were, the photos. Not nudes, not vulgar, just private. Vulnerable. Me in a mirror, in low light, eyes soft, lips parted. The kind of photos I took on bad days, to remind myself I was still beautiful. Just for me. Never posted. Never sent. But the timestamps had changed. Someone had been here. Today. Froze. My room door had been shut, but not locked. And earlier I'd gone to help Mom in the kitchen, left my phone unattended for maybe 10 minutes. I retraced the steps in my mind like a crime scene. Who had been upstairs? Who had a reason? Who even could? There was only one person. My older brother. He'd been in my room earlier looking for headphones. I remembered because I had told him, "Don't touch anything. Just check the drawer." I didn't want to believe it. My own brother. But denial is a weak shield when the truth is staring straight at you through opened apps and fresh fingerprints on your screen. Later, in the living room, I asked him. I kept my voice steady, casual, like it didn't matter. "Hey, did you go through my phone?" He didn't answer immediately. Just glanced up from his own screen. That glance cracked something inside me. I saw the stiffness in his shoulders. The flicker of panic behind his eyes. He opened his mouth, but no sound came out. And that's when I knew. I couldn't unsee his face when I asked. That wasn't guilt. That was fear. It wasn't always like this. There was a time when my brother and I were just siblings. No poison between us. Just the usual noise. Yelling over who gets the remote, fighting for the front seat, laughing at stupid memes only we understood. He used to protect me. I remember once in middle school when a boy pulled my braid on the bus, and my brother made him cry without laying a finger on him. Just a stare and a sharp whisper in the ear. I used to think he was my built-in bodyguard. My secret weapon. We weren't close, not like some idealized TikTok siblings. But we shared things. Gum, inside jokes, music. And silence too. That soft kind of silence you only get when someone knows you so well they don't need to talk. But time changes people, or maybe it just reveals them. He got older, colder. I grew quieter. Teenage years built walls where there used to be doorways. Our rooms became countries with locked borders. We'd pass in the hall and nod like strangers at a bus stop. I started noticing myself more. Not in a vain way, more like curiosity. My body was changing, but my confidence wasn't keeping up. Some days I hated my reflection. Other days, I'd pose in front of the mirror and wonder if I could ever be the kind of girl people called beautiful without choking on the word. That's why I took those photos. They weren't for attention. They weren't for anyone else. No filters, no angles. Just me. Honest. Or not in a physical way, in an emotional one. They were proof that I could look at myself and say, "You exist. You matter. You are real." Kept them hidden. Tucked away in a locked folder. Behind a passcode no one should have known. It wasn't about shame, it was about privacy. There's a difference. Huge one. So when I realized he had seen them, not just stumbled on them but gone looking, it wasn't just a line crossed. It was a world shattered. And yet, a part of me still whispered, was it my fault? That disgusting, toxic voice. The one society slips into girls' ears like poison. Don't take photos if you don't want them seen. Why would you pose like that? You should have been more careful. I wanted to rip that voice out of my head. Because here's the truth no one says loud enough. He wasn't supposed to look. Not because I'm his sister. Not because I trusted him. But because I am a person. And people, even sisters, are not objects to be opened without permission. But still the question haunted me. Not because I believed it but because I've been trained to. Did I do something wrong? Or did he? I knew the answer. I just hated that I had to ask it in the first place. First, I told myself I needed proof. It wasn't enough to feel it in my gut, to see the guilt in his face when I asked about my phone. I needed something hard. Something undeniable. I didn't want this to just be a hunch. If I was going to carry this weight, it had to be real. So I started digging. Late that night, while everyone else slept, I sat in bed under the covers, screen brightness turned low, heart thudding in my throat. I checked my gallery history again. The timestamps were off. The last photo opened just 10 minutes before dinner. I thought about the cloud backup we'd both set up when Dad made us use the family account for a discount. That stupid shared Apple ID. I hated it then. I loathed it now. I logged into the cloud. Checked the devices. My phone. Mom's tablet. And his old iPad. Still synced. Still active. I opened it remotely and saw it. The photo folder had been accessed. Once yesterday. Once this afternoon. Felt sick. I wanted to scream, to throw my phone across the room, to erase myself from every image ever taken. But instead I just sat there, cold and silent, like my soul had gone somewhere else to hide. The next day, I waited until our parents were gone. Grocery run, both of them. I heard the car leave and found him on the couch, game controller in hand, eyes on the screen. "Hey," I said, voice steady. Too steady. "Can we talk?" He looked up, distracted. "About what?" "My phone," I said. "The photos." His hands stopped moving. He looked at me like I'd just said something in a foreign language. "What about them?" "They were opened," I said. "While I wasn't using it. You were in my room. And your iPad is still synced to the cloud." His face changed barely. But I caught it. The flicker. The twitch in his jaw. The flash of oh shit behind his eyes. Then he rolled them. Rolled his eyes. "Seriously," he said, almost laughing. "You're freaking out over that?" I stared at him. My skin burned, not from shame, but from rage. "So you admit it?" "Yes." He shrugged. "I saw them, yeah. I didn't mean to. I was just bored." I opened the folder. "Chill out, it's not like I sent them to anyone." He laughed then. Laugh. That awkward, guilty boy laugh people use when they've crossed a boundary and think charm will save them. "You're being dramatic," he said. "You act like I committed a crime." And that's when I broke. Not loud at all. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. Froze. Every part of me went still. My face. My hands. Even my breath. I just stood there, absorbing the words. Tone. The absolute casualness of it. Like it meant nothing. Like my privacy was a joke. Like I was the one making it weird. He looked at me, confused. He expected a reaction, maybe yelling. Maybe tears. But I gave him nothing. Because in that moment, I realized something terrifying. He didn't see me. Not as a person. Not as his sister. Just a girl in a frame. File to be opened. Curiosity. A quick glance at something he shouldn't have touched but did anyway, because he could. It wasn't just a betrayal. It was a violation. One with gender, power, silence laced into it. If it had been a stranger, it would have been disgusting. But this was something darker. He hadn't needed to force anything. He had access, trust, proximity, and he used all of that to cross a line I never even imagined needed guarding. I thought of every girl who ever said, "He's my brother, he'd never." And I thought of every boy who replied, "Relax, I was just curious." We build walls around ourselves, and the people inside the walls are the ones we forget to fear. I turned and walked away. My hands were cold. My jaw hurt from clenching. But my mind was clear. If he saw me as a thing, I would show him what that feels like. After that conversation, if you could even call it that, something inside me changed. I didn't scream. I didn't sob. I didn't throw things, even though every part of me wanted to make noise, to let the world know something was broken. Instead, I went quiet. I stopped speaking to him. Stopped acknowledging him. Not in the dramatic "I hate you" way. In the cold, surgical silence of someone who's preparing for something bigger. I let the air between us thicken with tension. He didn't notice at first. That was the thing about him. Self-absorbed, careless. He thought a stupid laugh and shrug were enough to erase what he'd done. That's how boys like him survive. They count on forgetting. On us forgiving. But I didn't forget. I began watching him. He came home late some nights, phone in hand, thumb twitching. He still played those stupid games on his console, yelling at his friends through his headset, dropping insults like bullets. Still used the family laptop when his own broke, assuming no one noticed. But I noticed. I saw everything. And I started making moves. Not loud ones. Not obvious. Surgical. First his group chats. I knew his passwords. He hadn't changed them, cocky, careless. I logged in one afternoon while he was at school and took screenshots. The things he said about girls, even ones I knew, girls who smiled at him in the halls, were disgusting. Objectifying. Violent, even in their jokes. I didn't send them to the world. Just to our mother. No explanation. Just the screenshots sent from a fake number with the caption, "This is what your son really says about girls." The silence at dinner that night was suffocating. My mom didn't say anything, but her eyes never left him. He kept shifting in his seat, confused. Guilty. Quiet. I watched him squirm. Second, his game saves. He'd spent months building this perfect fantasy world in his favorite RPG. Hours logged like a full-time job. One night, after he'd passed out with chips on his chest and the controller half dangling from his fingers, I slipped into the living room. Deleted everything. Not just the saved files. The cloud backup too. He found out the next morning and screamed like a child. He blamed the console, the update, the universe. He never once thought of me. Because why would I care, right? I was just his sister. The one he secretly violated and brushed off like dust. Third, his pride. It was a Friday. He had a couple friends over. Loud boys who laughed too hard and joked too mean. I was in the kitchen when I heard one of them say, "Dude, you still have that photo of that girl on your iPad?" And my brother snapped, "Shut up, man. Not here." My hand froze on the fridge handle. I walked into the room. They went silent. I looked at my brother and said calmly, clearly, "You still keeping pictures of girls without asking them? Or just mine?" The silence cracked like glass. One of his friends choked on his soda. The others shifted, eyes darting like they didn't want to be involved. My brother's face turned blood red. I didn't wait for him to answer. I turned and walked away. That moment, it was everything. He finally saw me, not as a thing but as a threat. I started dressing the way I liked, bold, defiant. Not to tempt, not to provoke, to reclaim. He saw me in ways he was never supposed to. So now I would control what he saw. I wore lipstick. I walked taller. I spoke sharper. I took up space. Loudly, fearlessly. Every day I passed him in the hallway, I looked him in the eyes. No fear. Just fire. He used to look through me. Now he couldn't look at me at all. That was power. It wasn't enough to punish him. I wanted him changed. I wanted him to live with the constant weight of knowing he'd made a mistake too big to be hidden under a laugh. Because here's the truth. He looked at me like I was a thing. Now I want him to see. See the fury. See the shame. See the girl he tried to erase rise from the ashes of his ignorance. Burning, brilliant, and absolutely done being quiet. Didn't happen all at once. Boys like him don't fall easily. They pretend, posture, hold tight to pride like it's armor. But pressure builds. And pressure always finds a crack. His crack came on a Tuesday. He got home from school, slammed the door hard enough to shake the hallway. I was at the dining table, pretending to read, listening without looking up. He paced the living room, mumbling to himself, fists clenched. I could feel the storm before it broke. And then I heard it, the crash. A cup thrown against the wall. Shouting. He kicked the coffee table, sent it skidding. The sound of pain, raw and stupid. What the hell is going on? Mom's voice, sharp from the kitchen. Dad came in behind her, tense. Both of you now. Talk. We sat across from each other, like strangers with a courtroom between us. He was shaking. Not from anger, not only. His face was red, his eyes rimmed, and for the first time in weeks, he looked at me like he finally understood what he'd done. She's ruining my life, he said, voice hoarse. She's turning everyone against me. I didn't speak. I didn't need to. She's deleting my stuff, exposing my chats. You saw the screenshots, Mom. His voice cracked. I don't even know what she wants. Mom turned to me, confused, defensive. What's going on between you two? Why are you doing this? I looked at them, both of them. My father's folded arms. My mother's worried eyes. And my brother, breaking apart in real time. But they didn't know the truth. Not the real truth. Not the one that sat like glass lodged in my throat. Because I hadn't told them. Because I knew what would happen if I did. They'd say it wasn't that serious, that he didn't mean it, that boys are stupid and curious and just don't think. And I couldn't stomach hearing them minimize it. So I said nothing. Just looked at him and let the silence speak. His face crumpled. He left the room without a word. Later that night, I found myself alone in the dark, sitting at the edge of my bed. The house was quiet, everyone exhausted by the weight of tension. I scrolled through my gallery. Not the secret photos, just old ones. Summer smiles. Sibling selfies. Dumb filters we used to laugh at. I should have felt victorious. Had power. I'd made him squirm. I'd taken things from him the way he took something from me. I'd made sure he couldn't forget. But I didn't feel triumphant. Felt hollow. All this fire I carried, all this strategy, this slow burn revenge, had turned to dust in my mouth. This wasn't justice. This was just pain bouncing between walls. I didn't want his tears. I didn't want his apologies. I just wanted to go back before he looked. Before I had to become this version of myself. The girl with armor for skin and ash in her chest. I touched the edge of my screen, my reflection faint in the black glass. Is this what revenge tastes like? I whispered. Dust. Some things are too heavy to carry in your hands. That's why I wrote it down. Not for him. Not even for clarity. Just to take it out of my body. To make the words real outside my head. My journal was old, leather-wrapped. The pages soft from years of secrets. I turned to a blank one and started writing. No metaphors. No code. Just the truth. You went through my photos. You didn't stumble. You searched. You didn't ask. You didn't stop. And then when I found out, you laughed. Like I was the one making a big deal. You crossed a line. You broke something sacred. Not just trust. Not just privacy. Me. My hand was trembling by the time I stopped. But the shaking wasn't fear. It was release. I didn't know if I was going to show him. Not yet. But that night something changed. Something softened. Not toward him. Toward myself. A week later he knocked on my door. Not barged in. Not yelled from the hall. No. I didn't say anything, but I didn't stop him when he cracked the door open and stepped inside. He looked smaller somehow. Not in size, in weight. Like guilt had finally started carving him down. I know I messed up, he said quietly. I stared at him. I didn't get it, he went on, hands in his pockets. Not really. Not until everything just came apart. I didn't think it would hurt you like that. Or maybe I didn't think at all. He looked up at me. I'm sorry. Just that. Not perfect. Not poetic. But not defensive. No laughing this time. No excuses. I nodded once. You didn't just hurt me, I said. You made me feel invisible. Like my body didn't belong to me. Like I was just something to be opened and looked at. He swallowed hard. I know, he whispered. We stood in silence. And in that silence I realized something. I didn't need him to bleed for me. I didn't need revenge anymore. What I needed was distance. Faith. Forgiveness. Not yet. But release. That I could give to myself. I'm not doing this for you, I said, voice steady. I'm doing it for me. He nodded. Then he left. And the door closed behind him with a sound softer than I expected. Like maybe silence has weight too, but not always the crushing kind. Time passed. Not like a wound healing. More like a scar settling into skin. Stopped hurting the same way. But it never disappeared. I still remember everything. Photo. The silence. His face when I said the truth out loud. But the rage. That part burned out like a fire that ran out of oxygen. I don't carry it anymore. Carry something quieter. My relationship with him changed, obviously. We exist near each other now, not with small talk, tense dinners, eyes that avoid. But the bigger change wasn't between us. It was inside me. I protect things differently now. Not just passwords and folders, but my body, my mind, my softness. I don't see privacy as something passive anymore. It's not just a lock. It's a boundary I hold with teeth if I have to. And I still take photos. Yeah, still. But only for me. No cloud. No backup. Just the mirror, the timer. And the girl in the frame learning how to see herself without apology. Some days I miss how naive I was. How free I used to feel before I learned what some eyes do when no one's watching. But I also know this. What was taken from me will never be taken again. He looked once. But he'll never see me again. Not the real me. That's mine now.